What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Friday, January 9th, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 15:03 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Iran and from here in the United States and also from Ukraine. So in case you missed the big breaking news last night, Russia struck Ukraine with an ICBM. They used their Oreshnik missile again against Ukraine, and this time they struck western Ukraine, the city of Lviv, which is just a few miles away from the Polish border. Poland is a part of NATO. So Russia sending a message to NATO, launching an ICBM at Ukraine just miles away from NATO's border. Okay, and this Oreshnik missile is essentially just an ICBM that has one rocket booster removed from it. So most ICBMs are 3 stages, so they have 3 rocket boosters, and the Russians just remove one rocket booster, so it only has 2, and that basically shortens its range and makes it more optimal for medium ranges up to, let's say, 4,000 miles, and that turns a normal ICBM into a theater range missile. And we do have some footage of this Oreshnik hitting Lviv. I'm going to share that with you now. So if you look at the top left of your screen, you should be able to see the warheads coming down from the sky. So check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then here we have another video. You look towards the top right, you'll see those warheads coming down from the sky. Now what's crazy is that it almost looks like lightning coming down from the sky, but these are conventional warheads, not nuclear. But what was interesting is yesterday we had 2 nuke sniffers up in the air over the United States, and one was airborne over the Midwest for several hours, and it got aerially refueled right after this strike. So maybe the U.S. was concerned that the Russians used a nuclear warhead. But here you can see a picture coming from the area where the Oreshnik was detonated, where the warheads landed, and you can see pink haze here in the sky. And the only thing that would cause a pink color like this is the presence of ionizing radiation. And it doesn't necessarily have to be large amounts of radiation, like large amounts of gamma radiation, that's going to cause, health effects, the typical things you think about when there's a nuclear bomb explosion. But this could be alpha radiation, beta. I mean, just think of solar winds when they hit our atmosphere and cause auroras, northern lights. The sky looks this same pink color. So I don't know why the sky was pink after the Oreshnik, but I will tell you that this is exactly what the sky looks like when there's auroras, when solar radiation hits our atmosphere, and there was no solar storm last night in progress. Okay, so some kind of ionizing radiation might have been released, and then here's a video of the aftermath, and you can clearly see this pink glow in the sky. Very, very strange. And apparently the target of this Oreshnik missile strike was an underground natural gas storage facility, which apparently has a design capacity of 17 billion cubic meters, which is more than 50% of the total storage capacity of all Ukraine's natural gas storage facility in the country, all their facilities. So over 50% of Ukraine's natural gas was in this area where the Russians hit, okay, with the Oreshnik. So very, very serious. And like I said, just miles away from NATO's borders, okay? Clearly Russia is trying to make a statement to Trump after Trump confiscated another Venezuelan tanker, and this time it had a Russian flag on it. And the Russians actually sent out a formal diplomatic request to the Trump administration asking them not to seize this tanker. And what did we do? We took it anyway. We basically gave Putin the middle finger, and the Russians were sending a submarine and a warship to intercept this tanker that was under their protection, but I guess they couldn't get there in time, and we moved and seized it before they could get there, okay? But to me, this was clearly Putin showing Trump that he's not afraid and kind of warning Trump and NATO to, back off, okay? Because we captured Maduro, and then literally 2 days later, we take this Russian oil tanker under Russia's protection, even after they sent a diplomatic request. We're considering taking over Greenland now, which is literally right next to Russia. And Trump said that we want to put missile defenses there. He said it numerous times. Okay, so if you're Putin, you're basically thinking, I don't think I can do any kind of diplomacy with Trump anymore. Because on one hand, he talks about peace in Ukraine and resetting relations with Russia, but then on the other hand, he wants to put missiles right in our backyard in Greenland. He captured the leader of one of our allies, Venezuela, and then he captured one of our oil tankers that we specifically asked them not to seize, okay? So if you're Putin, you're pretty pissed off, okay? Now, I'm not saying that I agree with Putin or I agree with that philosophy. I'm just letting you know what's going on in Putin's mind. He is not happy now, and I would not be surprised if the Ukraine peace talks completely fall apart. Also, the Europeans have just agreed to give Ukraine another $90 billion in funding. That's just the European Union, not the United States. They're going to give Ukraine $90 billion to support their military, which means that Ukraine has enough money to fight against Russia for at least another 2 years, okay? So Russia's obviously not happy about that. And then Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, and Emmanuel Macron, the President of France, and Zelensky, the President of Ukraine, all signed a memorandum stating that French and British troops will be deployed to Ukraine if there's any kind of peace deal, okay? So that's one of Russia's major red lines is no NATO troops in Ukraine and no missile systems close to Russia. And what are we doing? We want to put missiles in Greenland now, okay? So Putin's pretty pissed off, and I think this is just the beginning. I would not be surprised if Putin actually detonates a tactical nuke over Ukraine. I've been saying that for years, and I think we're going to see that happen potentially in the Trump administration. We may see Putin lose his cool and detonate a nuke in the capital of Ukraine, okay? And Trump said in an interview with Sean Hannity last night that he's going to start striking the cartels in Mexico on land, okay? So that's a big deal as well. And we're hearing that Canada, Russia, and Iran are telling their citizens to leave Iran immediately and not to travel to Iran. And also today, Turkish Airlines canceled all their flights to the capital of Iran. So the situation in Iran is escalating. Also, there's been at least 5 to 7 Russian heavy military cargo planes that have been flying to Iran since the beginning of the new year. And last night there was another one that was operated by a private carrier from Belarus called Ruby Star Airways that flew over the Caspian Sea to Tehran. And Ruby Star Airways is normally civilian, but frequently is used by the Russians to transport sensitive military logistics, and that provides plausible deniability while routing equipment to Iran through the Caspian Sea. So Russia is moving some military equipment into Iran because they sense that the regime is about to be toppled there, and they're trying to bring in reinforcements to prevent that from happening. And speaking of Iran, we have footage here from the streets of Tehran. And here you can see one person holding up a peace symbol. But what you can see right here is a building, a government building in Iran that's literally on fire. And apparently this is the first government building that was torched in Iran since the uprisings started about a week and a half ago. Now, obviously, these uprisings are being sponsored by Mossad and the CIA. So I think that's what Netanyahu and Trump were discussing when Netanyahu visited Mar-a-Lago. I think they were talking about how they're going to overthrow Khamenei without having to put boots on the ground or even do any kind of direct military action, a good old-fashioned coup, okay? And what you're looking at here is network connectivity in Iran. So the Iranian regime has completely shut down the internet in Iran. So you can see absolutely zero internet connectivity in Iran. And interestingly, last night we had 2 U.S. government VIP planes fly from Colorado Springs to D.C. late last night, right around the time when the nuke sniffer was up in the air getting refueled, and just hours after the Oreshnik strike. We had 2 U.S. Air Force C-37 planes fly from Colorado Springs, which is home of NORAD. That also happens to be the home of Cheyenne Mountain, which is a doomsday bunker for NORAD. And interestingly, one of these VIP planes had the call sign SAM 666. Okay, you know what 666 means, right? That's the number of the devil. And I don't know if this was a joke because earlier yesterday, a Russian general, I believe it was, claimed that Trump was the Antichrist. So maybe this was kind of like poking fun at that, and they used the 666. But pretty interesting. And then here you can see both of these planes returning to D.C. from Colorado Springs. So some VIPs have been moved to D.C. for the weekend, potentially because they have to be around the president if things were to happen, you know, to provide advisory support, okay? And Russia is urgently evacuating diplomatic personnel from Israel along with their families and other Russian citizens in what appears to be a rapid coordinated withdrawal operation. According to flight tracking data, this is now the 3rd Russian evacuation flight in less than 24 hours. So Russia has been sending special flight squadron planes to Israel and shuttling important people out of Israel. So that means a war is coming, guys. And the U.S. is now chasing 4 sanctioned oil tankers that have changed their flags to the Russian flag that are trying to escape from Venezuela. Okay, so 4 more tankers flying under or sailing under the Russian flag. So we'll see what happens with those. And Israel has apparently detected unusual activity by the Iranian regime, including an increase in IRGC military exercises. And we know a couple of days ago, the IRGC and the Iranian military put their air force and air defenses on the highest level of alert. They put radar systems all over the place. So that's very concerning. And Trump said that Iran is on the verge of collapse in last night's Fox News interview with Hannity. He said there's so many people protesting. Nobody's ever seen anything like what's happening right now. But I have put Iran on notice that if they start shooting at the protesters, these people are totally unarmed and they love their country, Trump told Hannity on Fox News. They want something to happen. Look at their country. They've gone back 150 years, but I've warned them that if they do anything bad to these people, we're going to hit them very hard, Trump said. I've said it very loud and very clear. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so Trump saying that, clearly we're going to attack Iran hard if the Iranian regime starts shooting the protesters, okay? So I think we're going to see it, guys. I think we're going to see regime change in Iran. I think the uprising is going to continue. It's going to escalate, and then the U.S. is going to get involved because the U.S. is going to want to take control of Iran's missiles, okay? That's critical. They want to take control of the nuclear material in Iran, and they want to take control of those missiles. The last thing they want is a power vacuum, and some crazy guy, even worse than Khomeini, is going to come in, some jihadist, and seize control of the nukes and the missiles and start launching them, okay? And the North Atlantic Alliance, NATO, has launched a two-stage diplomatic effort targeting U.S. President Trump in an attempt to prevent a potential U.S. military incursion into Greenland, according to Politico. And the Danish foreign minister warned the U.S. that under their policy, which has stood from the early 1950s, that they have a shoot first, ask questions later policy with regards to defending Greenland. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news. You might see the live stream down for a couple of hours this evening. I just have to do some maintenance on my studio and my equipment, so no worries about that. The stream will be back up and running tonight. Also, looks like there was this recon drone off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. So the U.S. is keeping an eye on Mexico very closely after Trump said that he was going to do those land strikes. And then here we had this sub-hunter doing this interesting semicircle off the coast of Baja California. But that's it for now. I'm going to monitor the situation, and until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.